guess that.
Oh, it's 6. I don't think it's.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll have personal appeals as part 1 at this time. If anyone has a personal appeal, approach the podium, sign in, and state your name and where you're from, and you have 5 minutes for your appeal.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Ashelman. I'm the president of the Emmaus Youth Association, and I have been asked by the board for the Emmaus Youth Association to address you folks tonight. So I wanted to bring a couple of items to your attention. The board, since I've been on the board or actually, I'm not sure how many years I've been on the board. I've been part of Emmaus Youth Association for going on about 10 years now. I've been the president. This is the first year I've been the president. Since I have been a part of the board, I can remember back as far as I've been in, there's been challenges from the EYA's perspective about our relationship with the borough. And rather than that continue to fester and get worse and worse and worse, I think that our approach was that we wanted to be very upfront and honest with the borough and talk a little bit about what our views were. And we have some good stories to tell, and we have some challenges and some things that we like to work on, and we're here to make sure that we make this as public and visible an issue as we possibly can, so everybody's aware of what our opinion is, and there's no cause for anybody wondering what's going on the other, on what the challenges are, if you will. So I have it boiled down to just a few topics that we wanted to discuss tonight, if it's okay with you. The EY is definitely concerned about a few things. One of them, and probably the most visible to every member of the board, is the renting of borough fields to outside third-party organizations for use for sports. It's always been a bit of a concern. In this past year, in the summer, and this year in the fall, it really became almost unbearable for us to maintain a youth association schedule with the schedule of the fields that have been rented out. Our Legion Field, our Kiwanis and William Street fields are rented out almost every weekend, or at least on the schedule that we have, almost every weekend in the fall season for use by, again, these outside organizations. And we're not really positive how that process works. We don't really know who's doing that, who's okaying that, who's aware of that. But I can tell you from a bunch of perspectives, that's caused us substantial challenge, both from a scheduling standpoint, from a field maintenance standpoint, from an accountability standpoint, from a maintenance standpoint, as we do a lot of the maintenance to the fields as well. That's caused us some substantial challenge as well, so we wanted to bring that to your attention to make sure that you're aware and ask about how that process can be. We know we could work together on that process to get it to work and figure out a way to, get the best maximum use of those fields that we possibly can. We want to talk a little bit about field maintenance. Again, that's been a big deal since I've been on the board. I have to say this year, starting as the president, one of the first things I did was reach out to Shane and talk to Shane a little bit. He was kind enough to meet with us, or meet with me and John, and we've had some good things come out of that. We've talked about some plans for us to work on what we need to do to the fields, because right now there's a fairly substantial backlog of things that we need to do to the fields, and Shane's been good to work with from the perspective of trying to find out what it is that we need. A good example of that is our new scoreboard that we had donated. We had one of our EYA board members get the scoreboard donated, and we worked with Shane to get it up and mounted. We have a similar situation at another field in Emmaus where the people didn't go through the right process, and that's still creating some challenges for us that we're trying to come in as a third party and sort of fix some of those situations. So we're trying to include everybody that's using those fields as well. In the last couple of years, we've done some pretty good upgrades to our fields. So as a result, the high school baseball team now plays on an EY, or at Community Park, and the high school softball team plays at Kiwanis Field. So again, a lot of that has been that's a really good story, I think, from a lot of perspectives. But we do have a lot of challenges from a field maintenance standpoint with some of the challenges that the fields have from a leveling standpoint. I won't get into the minutia of all that, but it's to the point now where we're concerned about some safety issues and some things about how do we make sure that we're taking care of the fields and not doing any more further damage to them at this point. And then the third bullet point I have, if you will, and there's probably more, but again, these are the three that we have, is that I wasn't sure if I assume, but I'm not sure. I don't want to assume. I know that old phrase I learned while I was in the Navy about not assuming anything, what happens when you do that. So I want to that everybody is aware that right now the EYA receives no monetary support from the borough whatsoever, as I understand it. I know that they do some work to some of the fields, and there's some other things as well, but again, zero monetary support puts an organization like EYA, it's a 100% volunteer organization. It creates some challenges for us from a bunch of perspectives, obviously. So those are the three main points I wanted to bring up tonight. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about that, or if I don't really, my first time here, so I don't know really if that's how that works, or if anybody wants to talk about it, or.
I respond.
Okay, but I'm going to refer it to committee then. I'm going to refer that to the Parks and Recreation Committee so they can handle those in the committee level, because that's where we do a lot of our work. But Shane would like to say a few words.
Sure. In regards to renting the fields, I think we can explain that to you at the committee level. One of the challenges that we have from our perspective, though, Tom, to be very honest, is that you guys, it would be nice if we got schedules early in the year so that we could plug them in.
Can you give me an example?
We
of what-
don't get a schedule from you, though. Like, every time that we book a field, our girl has to go on to the EYA website and figure out if you guys have games and things scheduled there. We need to figure that out between the two of us. As a matter of fact, at the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting the other day, which is where I think we can get a lot ironed out with you guys coming in, visiting with the three council members. But that was one of the things that we said we need to try to figure out. Also, that we should put our field bookings online. So that way everybody can see what's on there, what's available, what's not. You guys can book things and have it block booked. But that's been a challenge. I mean, I used to holler and scream at Roy all the time about that, about, why aren't we seeing some of your schedules until May? Like everybody else, I already got the softball USSA calendar for next year. I know you can't do that. I used to be on a board for a Little League board. I know what those challenges are. I certainly don't expect you to book those things a year in advance. So I know what your challenges are there. But I do think that we can work to try to coordinate those schedules better for you, because that's one of the complaints that we've talked about downstairs is how do we make sure that EYA is getting those fields? And if USSA is going out and canceling their games a week before they were supposed to play, it's not fair for you guys to try to get in there and book. And how do you even know if they cancel? So there are challenges, I think, on both ends that we need to sit down and try to iron out, and I think we're very open to that. I know that the Park and Recreation Committee had a lot of discussions about that just as previous as, a week ago, Ms. Baumgartner? And that's definitely something that's on our radar, and I think you being part of that conversation at the committee meeting will be very valuable. In regards to field maintenance, we did have some good things come out of it. As far as field leveling, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So those are things where we need to talk about a joint process, because we don't just have, it's not just one field that there are issues at. There are multiple fields. And so that's not something that's going to have a short-term fix from the borough by any means. And as far as monetary support from the borough, you can put a request in, just like we tell everybody else. But our monetary support, we did the calculations, and I think Mr. Barrett asked for those a couple months ago. You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, not just $1,000 or $2,000. Every time you turn those lights on, there's a cost. Every time my guys go there and take care of the dirt, the water on the field, mowing that grass, that's a $41,000 contract to mow grass. That's taxpayer money. So, while you guys don't get a monetary dollar from us, the monetary support is in many different forms, and we're talking tens of thousands of dollars that we put into baseball fields and football fields and soccer fields and everything else. But we actually had our Public Works Department do a calculation because we've heard this complaint through the grapevine. And there is a lot of money that goes into maintaining and making sure that those fields are ready. I think it was tens of thousands.
Yeah, I would put the number at a staggering number. I think when we actually really looked at it and we took all things to consider, it was a number that I don't think any of us realized just how much goes into the fields, and they're really just to benefit baseball, just to benefit soccer. We're not just talking about the park system as a whole. We're just focused on those pieces. And it was a number that statement there, and I'm not looking to create an issue. I think that just the fact that you came to this meeting and are interested in trying to build a relationship that works very well, because at the end of the day, it benefits the kids of our community, and that should be our goal. But that statement is incredibly inaccurate to say that there's not some level of contribution towards it, and I don't think that you'll get very far if that's the approach. All the other things, I think that this council will 100% support to try and find a resolve. But I think if it has a strong financial slant that the borough never does anything, I don't think it will go very far. Because I know for a fact, and I can put it on paper for you, that this borough does do a considerable amount.
Gotcha, yeah, I'd love to see that. Now, can I address these kind of one by one really quickly, if that's all right?
Well,
Right,
so-
you wrote down a bunch of notes here.
We're way over 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute appeals, but
I'll make a motion to extend his time.
there's a motion to extend the time, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. You have 5 more minutes.
Gotcha, thank you. So, just, again, I'll address a couple of these things one by one. The schedules you mentioned, could we get the schedules up? Those are things that we would love to. I'm holding in my hand a document from ECTB, which is an outside baseball organization, that they were approved to have the fields pretty much every week in June, July, August, September, and October. That was done in May. So our teams participate in leagues that don't even get started until much past that period of time, and you don't have a schedule
Yeah, no,
until
I
much
understand.
past that period of time. So
I
there's
completely
no way
understand
for us
that.
to get, like, this schedule. Of course, the schedule looks clear, because we don't have our schedule anywhere near close to this. I mean, if this were, I would say to you, this is almost a ploy on this group's part to say, well, they don't have anything on their schedule at this point. So, what's to stop them from doing it in the spring next year now?
I understand that, and that's why I think it'd be valuable for you to come to a committee meeting and have a working meeting with council members. Because that has been, our directive is, if the fields don't show booked, book them. That's the directive that our staff has been given by Borough Council. So to have a better understanding of your schedule and how your schedules work, because again, staff, their job is to book the fields. That's it. They don't care. That's where the conversations need to happen at committee meetings with you guys, and you show us what your typical schedules look like, and maybe council can sit there and go, okay, we need to make sure that in the future, we need to keep this many weekends open for EYA in the fall up until whatever time period. I think those are conversations that they can have, and I think those are accommodations that they can probably make.
Okay.
And sir, that's why we're not going to go back and forth here. That's why we send it to committee level, because it can all be hashed out there.
We're here for the exact same reason you mentioned before. You feel like you said you were yelling at somebody about getting this, and we've been kind of doing that also to get to this group. And so rather than that be an excuse why we're not communicating, that's why we are here today to talk to you guys directly, so you are very clear on our stance.
Yeah,
You and
I
I
think-
have sat and met, and
No, I think what
know,
we're getting at is our working committees. Like, it's a committee of council, it's 3 council members. The recommendations end up coming from them.
Yeah,
And that's where you're gonna have more of a long, again, they already had the vote to extend your time period. You can sit with them for an hour and try to work out these details, so that way they can come to Borough Council as a whole and say, this is what we think is going to work, this is going to be a good compromise, this is what we think we should be doing, and we're making a recommendation to do this.
gotcha. And I'm in 100% agreement as far as that goes. Again, we want to accomplish the same things. I think you mentioned it's for, if you look at it just this year, more than 450 kids involved just in softball and baseball, just in the borough this year. If I'm looking at it, actually that includes basketball too, I believe. So soccer was a program that we do not have. So whatever money we're
I
spending
know,
on
I
soccer
referred to
programs
it
has nothing
generically
to
as
do with
all
the
fields,
EYA.
just so it wasn't misconstrued.
Right, I know. I think they're rented to somebody else also. So again,
Yeah.
that's a note. That's nothing to do with the EYA. And as far as the maintenance goes, again, that's clearly an issue, and I don't want to push that under about how much we're currently spending on that. I mean, we would be happy to help with that. We're really struggling losing volunteers. I can count 5 really, really good people that have spent tens and hundreds of hours on those fields getting them ready for games that we're losing because of where we are now from a perspective of maintenance. And I don't think anybody on the board, if you were to come to one of our meetings or to whatever, would argue that at all. We need to do better as far as that goes. And if that's us getting you more information or talking very specifically about what our challenges are, we'll be happy to do that in a very, open and honest manner. I wrote a few other notes though too. I can't think of anything else that we want to make sure that we brought up. I wanted to make sure that we were very, very clear about what our challenges are. I don't think what we've done here today, what we wanted to accomplish today was a first discussion for us to talk about what do we do next. I wanted it to be very open and honest so everybody was aware where everybody else is coming from. You and I have sat together and talked about some ways that we can work together, and I sincerely mean that we want to do that. I can't we're going to lose more people if we continue to go back and forth about why we're failing and not talk about how we can do better together.
So let's be clear, the borough has always been open to having this conversation. And you and I have had the conversation of, but hearing it through the grapevine is not the way to approach these people. So the fact that you're here today, addressing us,
Shane, that's why we're here
is
today.
a great first step.
That's why we're here today, because again, I think a lot of us, I'll go back to my Navy time, we were assuming some conversations were be had, and it seems to me that they've not been had, or at least they have not been had from our perspective.
And I would agree with that.
Well, so we've been talking about this for 17 minutes now. We're aware of the issues.
I have one comment. Tom, I've invited you several times to the committee meeting, and you said no. You said no several times to me when I was the committee chairperson, and you still refused to come to it because you wanted to come here and make your statements, okay? And that's fine. And I'll go on record, I am still currently the vice president of the EYA. I'm here as a borough councilman this evening, and I sit here as a councilman. But to say that you're open and you're wanting to get your items out here, you had Shane, I know Shane told you to come to committee as well. So to say that, like, you never heard to come to committee and to try to resolve things is a farce. And there's no ploy here by anyone on this council, including myself.
I didn't insinuate there was a ploy in the council at all.
You're on record as saying there's a ploy.
I was talking about the organization that's renting the fields. If I were them, I would also go a whole year in advance because they may know our process a little bit. So if anybody took it that I was referring to the borough, I would apologize, but that was not what I said or what I meant. I'd also like to state that I'm sorry. So, go
Okay,
ahead.
I'm just going to interrupt you because I don't think that we're going to go anywhere with any of this
Agreed.
right now. But we've opened the door, and opening the door was
That was our
seems
goal.
like it was the biggest challenge.
Yeah,
So we've opened the door. You can attend as many committee meetings as you want, and we would continually encourage that because anyone that has worked with the borough will know that the committee structure is very strong. The council members are open to hearing these discussions, and then we can really talk about it. You talk about it, you figure out what's working, what's not. All these conversations that are happening here in this meeting can be much more organized in a planned meeting for it. So I think that we should leave it right there. I think we've already exceeded your additional 5. I don't see a need to extend it further. And I don't think,
So we're 20 minutes into it, and we know the issues. There's not going to be any results here. It's going to the committee level. We have staff that does the booking of the fields. They can be involved if they have to. We have Public Works Director. He can be involved with the maintenance of the fields if he has to. None of it's going to be taken care of here, so it's going to the committee level. And their next meeting is October 2nd at 4:30 here in council chambers. October 2nd, 4:30 here in council chambers. If for some reason you're unable to make it, we meet once a month.
yeah, no, again, I'm very appreciative for everybody's time and allowing us some extra time. I'm very appreciative about it. And again, I think what we're hoping to accomplish is a good first step, like you mentioned, and we're looking forward to a good second step on October 2nd.
sounds good.
And thanks very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any other public appeals?
I'll get out of your way, I took enough time for that.
Thank you.
I'll do it after. All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Ashley Laura. I'm the new Emmaus Main Street manager. I recently joined through the chamber, and I've been working under Jessica O'Donnell for about 2 months now. I'm really excited to be here and meet all of you. I'm joined this evening by our board members, Vice Chair Mike Irwin and Megan Reed. And there's just a few things that I wanted to speak to you about this evening. So first of all, thank you to those of you who joined us at our most recent ribbon cutting last week at Montero Violins. Thank you for those of you who showed physical support being there, and also those of you who showed support online. We really appreciate that. I appreciate that. That was my first event, and I had a great turnout, and I was really thankful for those of you who were there to speak and to provide encouragement. They're a great couple, and we're happy to have them staying in Emmaus. Additionally, we have one coming up, a ribbon coming up, Empower Nutrition and Wellness. They're in the same building as I am, and their ribbon cutting will be October 9th in the evening, 5:30 to 7 p.m., with a ribbon cutting at 5:45. They're women that live, their office is right above me, and they're really excited to be here at Emmaus, and we're excited to show them support and do their ribbon cutting. Additionally, I have a copy for all of you this evening, if I can pass this to you. So the Emmaus maps came out. I know from what I understand, this has been a long time coming, so we're really excited to pass these around the borough of Emmaus. With the assistance of the Board of Directors and the Economic Development Committee, we've been handing these out to businesses for the past few weeks, and they've been very well received. People have been very excited and long anticipated, so we're really happy. They've gone out to Discover Lehigh Valley, who has distributed them all over the valley, 70 plus locations to tourists and visitors to many different rest stops and things like that. So we're really happy to spread word about our community around the whole Lehigh Valley. Additionally, moving on, one of my goals is to attend these meetings quarterly and just provide an update and get to know you all a little bit better and understand what's happening in our community. Additionally, this coming weekend, Emmaus Heritage Festival is going to be happening on Sunday, and we will be there as the Emmaus Main Street partners with Emma, the mule, selling triangles, and just promoting what we do. And I'm excited. I'll be there personally to get to know people and see everything that's happening. This is my first go around for a lot of events, so I'm just excited to see what the town of Emmaus has and what it's all about. And finally, I'd like to offer you up the date for Old Fashioned Christmas. We don't have flyers or anything yet, but we have our first committee meeting tomorrow. So Saturday, December 1st, we will have Old Fashioned Christmas. I'll be in touch further about more details, whether that's through email, but also attending the meetings quarterly. As I said, I grew up, well, I don't think I mentioned that, but I grew up in Upper Macungie, and Old Fashioned Christmas was an event that I attended as a child, so I'm really excited to personally be on this end of things and see things happen and kind of help Emmaus bring 5,000 plus people to our community. That's all I have for now. Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Ashley, is it?
Ashley, yes.
Ashley, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public appeals? Hearing none, we have community minute. Anybody have a community minute to bring forward?
I was going to bring up the Emmaus Heritage Festival, but Ashley kind of beat me to it. And Alan Hammond is here, and he'll be reporting on that as well. But it will be a really exciting time on Sunday. We've got a lot of demonstrations and displays. It's from 11 to 3 this year. And I also want to congratulate Main Street for the map, as one who worked tirelessly and for countless hours on that map a long time ago, and it's now to come to fruition. It's really nice to see it, and I think the store owners will be really excited as well. So thank you for that.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we have a special presentation this evening, a Volunteer of the Year Award. I would like to call Councilwoman McManaman forward, and also the chairman of our Remembrance, the Emmaus Remembrance Garden, Mike Waddell, Dr. Mike Waddell.
My wife and I and our family moved here in 1985. I got involved in a number of activities. But one of the things that has always impressed me about the borough of Emmaus is the volunteers that we have. Even though we're losing volunteers, we all have struggled to find volunteers. There's so many good ones here in our community. A number of years ago, and some members of council may remember this, we were at for those who don't know, I used to sit there. It came to a point in the budget where someone made the audacious remark that they could balance the budget by not doing the Volunteer of the Year award brick and save $75. That bothered me, so I went back to the Remembrance Council Board, of which I speak to the plaintiffs here, Farmer, Terry McMahon are on the Remembrance Board. So I think we should do this. We should offer that brick. We should do that because we have such great volunteers already. So they agreed, of course. And so for a number of years now, the Remembrance Garden has been purchasing that brick so the budget can be balanced each year now. And we don't have to worry about that. We love that $75. But we are happy to do it. And we're really pleased. And as I look at this Volunteer of the Year award plaque that Terry brought in here, and I see 3 of those members here. John Iyer, who's a Volunteer of the Year. Dick Farmer last year. Terry, who's the poster child of volunteerism for all of us here in the borough. It's a privilege to be part of this. And I thank you for allowing the Remembrance Garden to be part of this and provide this brick. We have a special section in the Remembrance Garden for Volunteers of the Year. We have about over 600 bricks now in the Remembrance Garden. And it's a privilege to do this one to recognize volunteerism in our community. So Terry, I'll turn it over to you. I have the brick.
So I hope you will indulge me because there's a lot to say about volunteerism in Emmaus and for this individual. The annual Emmaus Borough Volunteer of the Year Award was created to recognize an outstanding community volunteer whose unselfish and dedicated service to Emmaus has made a significant difference in the community. The Emmaus Borough Council is pleased to announce the 2017 recipient of the Volunteer of the Year Award, Alan M. Hoffman, an Emmaus resident who has made significant, working with you, this is so much fun. Who has made a significant contribution over many years to multiple organizations and committees. After graduating from Penn State's architecture program and an apprenticeship with the firm of Donald W. Dunkley of Allentown, Pennsylvania, Alan Hoffman opened his architectural practice in Emmaus in 1977. A keen interest in building led to starting a partnership in a construction company that same year. Today, while no longer involved in construction, the firm specializes in residential design and projects involving historic structures and offers services for smaller commercial projects and consultation to owners and contractors on technical and building code issues. As the unofficial architectural historian of Emmaus, Alan is a lifetime member of the Friends of the 1803 House, having served on the board of directors as well as having the role of both president and treasurer. He sits on the Emmaus Heritage Alliance, where he again unofficially chairs the Emmaus Heritage Festival. I actually think, Alan, you have a problem with titles. In addition, Alan was on the committee to help with the reprinting of the book They Came to Emmaus by Preston Barba. Alan chairs the Emmaus Design Challenge Grant Committee, which is a program of the Emmaus Main Street Partners, Borough of Emmaus, and the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development since its inception more than 20 years ago. He has dedicated countless hours and expertise to the Emmaus Historical Society, especially during their new building renovations and porch restoration. Alan has donated many hours of in-kind services over the years to our community and organizations. Besides sitting on the borough's building board of appeals as a volunteer, he has also given walking tours in the downtown area of Emmaus to teach a little bit of the history of Emmaus and its buildings to those of interest. The efforts that are put forth by Alan Hoffman and so many other volunteers in this community are in this one little brick. And we are so proud, Alan, to name you the 2017 Emmaus Volunteer of the Year. We also have to point out, you don't have to talk about the Alliance, and you don't have to talk about those songs.
And we don't really care about your facade announced it.
I'm so happy. And congratulations.
Congratulations. Thanks so much. We're ready for a picture.
So usually the volunteer of the year kind of has a clue that they're here for that because they already found out or if their family members are here. From what I understand, Alan didn't have a clue tonight, so he thought he was here for other borough business, so it's a nice surprise for you.
It's a very nice surprise, big surprise.
And we appreciate everything you do for this borough.
So in order to put the exclamation point, we'll go ahead and because, we are all looking for volunteers and the volunteer of the year is kind of the pinnacle of a lot of hard work. The Emmaus Volunteer of the Year Award has been given to John Kirschman in 2004, Kathleen Mincer in 2005, Elda Ackler in 2006, Frank and Josephine Sadrovitz in 2007, the Emmaus Garden Club in 2008, the 2009 Anniversary Committee in 2009. In 2010 was the Emmaus Main Street Partners. In 2011, it was John Iyer. In 2012, Robert Boehmer. 2013, Martha Vines. Myself in 2014, very great honor. The Emmaus Historical Society in 2015, and Dick Farmer in 2016. So
A very
congratulations.
illustrious group right there. Absolutely.
For a change, yeah.
It does.
Yeah, maybe.
I am bothered with the old camera anymore.
That's very nice.
We'll move on to reading of the minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion to pass the council meeting minutes for September 4th, 2018? Oh, and for the record, I'm sorry, I didn't say this. Councilman Dufresne is absent for tonight's meeting. It's a little late.
Better late than never.
It's 34 minutes late.
It's like your Phillies.
So is this, would somebody like to make that motion? Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilman Shrubsta. Any questions or discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. There are 6 ayes. There are no decisions on bids. Communications, we received one letter from Tammy Schmidt from Emmaus, a letter concerning North Street and Cedar Crest Boulevard, the crosswalk. She also attached a letter that she sent in 2015 addressing the same issue, and we'll refer that to the Safety Committee.
Public safety, yeah, they've already discussed.
I thought it was in the minutes.
And did anyone else receive a letter that they would like to bring forward? No? All right. There's no borough engineers report, solicitors report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good news, we have I just gave Mr. Pepe the $70,000 check, which I know sort of went over to the president, for the sale of the property with the county. It took a little while, but it's done.
Yay.
Another issue involves a civil service appeal by one of your police officers. I believe the Civil Service Commission has no jurisdiction. There's going to be an argument in front of that commission in the near future. And the First Street property we'll address at the appropriate time. And that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfinished business, part 1, there is nothing. New business, we have first reading of ordinance 1180, an ordinance of the Borough of Emmaus, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, amending ordinance 1099 and chapter 15, subsection 602.2.a of the Emmaus Borough Code, removing a residential handicap parking sign on the public street located in front of 640 Minor Street within the Borough of Emmaus. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1180? Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilwoman Baumgardner. Any questions or discussion on removing a sign? All right, this is a roll call vote. Councilwoman McManaman.
Aye.
Councilman Schubsta.
Aye.
Councilman Anders.
Aye.
Councilman Barrett.
Aye.
Councilwoman Baumgartner.
Aye.
Councilman Labenberg. Aye. There are 6 ayes. Unfinished business part 1, items not on the agenda. We have nothing. Mayor's report.
Progress.
Thank you. Committee reports. Public Works Committee Chairman Anders.
We have nothing for official action. Our next meeting is October 8th, 2018 at 3:30 PM. I'll report progress.
Thank you. Health, Sanitation, and Codes Committee Chairman Schubsta.
Yes, nothing for official action this evening. Our next meeting is scheduled for September 26th at 4:30 PM in council chambers. I report progress.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Committee Chairwoman Baumgartner.
We have one item for action. Crystal Klein is part of the Recreation and Entertainment Commission, but she has not been attending meetings. We tried to reach out to her and we have not gotten a response, so the request is to remove her from the commission.
Is that placed in the form of a motion?
Yes, I'll
There's
place
a
that
motion
in
by
the motion.
Councilwoman Baumgartner, second by, is there a second? Councilman Schubsta? Questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
Okay. Other than that, we have our committee meeting notes, and our next meeting will be October 2nd at 4:30. That's all.
Progress. Thank you. Public Works, or Public Safety Committee Chairman Dufresne, would somebody like to give a report in his absence?
Sure. All right. We have a few items. First one was we had a personal appeal about a directional sign. We also received a letter about this. One of the employee, or the director of that facility came and gave her perspective on why it should be there. Between the committee, it was a 1-1 vote, and one was for, one was against. Obviously, my perspective was that to add a directional sign for a private business would be out of character with the other things, other signs that exist in the borough. Most of the signs that we have are for either borough facilities, and we also do have some church signs or other community-oriented things. But this is a business that didn't seem to fit any of those characteristics.
So with a 1-1 vote, there's no recommendation from the committee. If somebody wants to bring it up from council to bring it up for a vote, they have the choice of doing so.
I just have a question. if I
Okay.
may. Would they, if this business went to a business that, say, is on 7th Street, pointing in that direction, they had a sign placed on another business pointing towards that, something like that, would they still seek council approval?
No,
Would
it's
that
private
be a-
property. They could do
would that be
whatever
maybe
they
a
wanted,
suggestion
as long as
for
it
them
met the
as
sign
to
ordinance.
Work with another, with another business?
That's not our responsibility.
I'm just, if they come to us, we make a suggestion.
The other thing is if they actually applied for a sign, you can actually see up 7th Street from Chestnut and almost see their building.
I'm just throwing out, the suggestion.
I mean, their
Yeah.
response was that it's difficult for family members of their patients, like that's what they had said. It's difficult for family members of their patients to find the building, was what her argument was at the committee meeting.
Does anybody else have a comment or would like to bring a motion forward?
No.
My only comment is if it was 5-10 years ago, I would be on the fence about it. But in this day and age, you can talk to your phone and get directions in a minute. So the phone talks to you and tells you where to turn. I don't think you really need a sign for a business anymore for these days. That's my own thought. So next item on your agenda.
I'm just making sure I have my notes correct here. I don't think there were any other that we had any official action. Am I correct in that, or did we?
No, the Canals Homestead.
We did. We just denied it. Okay, so it was.
Well, there was
No.
the 5 mile per hour speed limit thing, and then the directional sign. I think you did a denial and an
approved it.
approval there.
Yep.
Okay, yes. So perfect tie-in. So there was a request for the to make where the Canals Homestead is, to make that a 5 mile an hour speed limit. That was denied with a 2-0 vote, so I won't move any further with that one. But then there was a request for a directional sign again, this is in keeping with the signage that we have, and that was recommended.
Don't they have one, like, several already?
I thought there was.
They have one at the intersection of East Main and Lehigh.
They would like it to be at the driveway area,
Of where Cintas is?
To the barn?
to the barn.
So
Why?
is it
They have one at
you mean like
Cintas already.
The back way in?
I didn't make the request, I'm just telling you.
I'm not in favor of that. First of all,
Is
I
there
mean,
entrance
where's it
before
going?
the church, Shane? I'm trying to.
There is an entrance right
Oh,
at the
I always
church.
went in Cintas there.
I think their idea is that they want to draw people to the facility itself.
So,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I'll put a motion out there so that we can have it in
All right.
formal discussion. So I'll make a motion to approve the directional sign.
There's a motion by Councilman Barrett, second by Councilwoman Baumgartner. Now, questions or comments?
I guess, how many signs are there currently promoting the location?
There's at least 3 that I know of. There's one coming, if you're coming on Emmaus Avenue, Dalton Street. If you're coming west, there's one there. If you're going, there's one in the intersection by Lehigh Street and East Main. And then there's an actual large sign right by Cintas
That's what I thought.
going into where the parking lot is,
Right.
which is where you park for this Canals Homestead. Where they're asking is an alley that goes to the barn. And I really don't think we want people going in there. There's a residence right there. It's not a paved road, and it's got ruts in it. And I just don't feel that that's a proper place to put a
And
sign.
Since we
direct
own,
road right to the barn.
since we own that
back
property,
on
if
the other
something
side.
occurs for them driving on the unpaved road.
It's in
is it
between the
reliable?
church and that last
Is it
house there.
reliable?
Okay.
We
I've
own
never
it.
gone on that.
Yeah.
Just
It
like you
goes
can
right to the
sue
barn.
somebody
Yeah.
for jumping over a fence that says no trespassing.
So those are my thoughts. I'm going to be voting no. Any other comments? Councilwoman
So
McMenamin?
the Remembrance Garden has offered, there was a problem with the with the big sign at the entrance. So it is now going to be almost double the size at the entrance of Cintas for both Remembrance Garden and the Canals Homestead. So that does make a difference because we already counted, there are 3 signs just because it's a
I just think that
site, a historic site.
despite the place where they want to put it, where the alley is just not a good spot to put it.
I think one of the things that you're trying to do is for the folks who can't walk the distance, I think they're trying to give them this is where you go in at, but I don't know how they're going to accomplish that any differently, other than everybody will want to try to go in there if they know they can.
The distance to where? Because the parking lot's right at the Remembrance Garden.
This isn't about the Remembrance Garden, it's about the Canals Homestead.
Right.
Well, the turnaround there is,
No, it's a distance to the house itself.
but it is also from the turnaround where the barn is.
You're talking.
I park there like
you're
once a
talking-
week,
Yeah, but you're talking
all
about
summer.
feet rather than 100 yards. Like, you're not talking about that
Well,
great of a
I-
distance.
I think it's
I'm not
about
in
equal
favor of it.
distance,
I think that's a
actually.
horrible location.
Breaking
There's a
those
fence
links, I
right
think-
there where there's the church and there's a fence right there, the first residence, and it's literally just a little driveway going into a cinder alley that has ruts in it. And I think it's a horrible idea to put it there.
Well, they made the request, we put it to you guys, so.
So I'm only
You
one
make-
vote.
you make the
Everybody else can
decision.
put their comments in. We have 3 already. Councilman Schutz, do you have any comments, or
No, I mean,
Councilwoman Baumgartner?
now that they're putting a larger sign there, I don't see a need for another sign.
So, any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. Were those all no's over here? Okay, so it's a 4 no vote to a 2 yes vote. The motion does not pass.
All right, and then the next item.
Somebody pull that battery.
Shane, did we vote officially on the vacating? We didn't.
We did.
We did.
We voted
Sorry.
to not vacate.
We did make that formal. Okay.
So just mention it if somebody feels different.
Yeah, we had a request to vacate a property. We made a formal 2-0 recommendation to not vacate that street. You can see the addresses that are connected to that. It's up off of South 6th Street. So if anyone feels differently, speak up. And I will report, go
Can
on.
I just ask one? Shane, when did we lose our animal control officer? I must have missed that. Did he step down?
There's a personnel issue there that I'm not going to discuss here.
Okay, very good.
You'll find out shortly.
All right, so progress for public safety.
Thank you. General Administration Committee is myself. We have Resolution 2018-32 to disposal of municipal records. It's a resolution in accordance with the Municipal Records Act of January 18, 1968, as approved for local government records by the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission Bureau of Archives and History, as approved by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on December 18, 2008, and amended July 23, 2009, authorizing the Borough of Emmaus to dispose of certain municipal records. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2018-31? Or not 31.
32.
32. Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any questions or discussion? Just for the record, there is a list of the specific items that are being disposed of. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. We have fields at Indian Creek to lower. It's a lower letter of credit. It's a letter allowing the fields at Indian Creek to have, to lower their credit. Is that correct?
Better borrowing power is essentially what it's doing.
Yeah, that's a simpler way of saying it. So would somebody like to make a motion to approve the lower letter of credit? Councilman Barrett, seconded by Councilman Schubsta. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. South First Street legal remedies. Do we actually have any action on that?
Yes.
All right.
I'd like to turn it over to the solicitor if you don't mind.
All right, at this time, we'll turn it over to solicitor. This is with regards to property lines on South First Street.
What has occurred is one of the residents has blocked off a portion of the street with, we'll call it a curb stop, the things that you run up against with your car in a parking lot. It is blocking a good half to maybe a little bit more than the street. We've had problems with this issue for about a year and a half. Most of you are familiar with it. Shane has had the engineer do a survey. We now have that. That's attached to your records. Clearly shows that that he has, it's not his property and the roadway is there. Interestingly, the road, although not actually dedicated, does appear on our municipal formal map. So in my opinion, it is an official road. Even as an unopened road, there is, or even if it would be a private road, you have to go to court to block it off in these circumstances. So your remedies are this. Number one, I don't want to see you spend a lot of money trying to deal with an irrational person. So what I would recommend is a short notice coming from the borough based on whatever you do tonight, telling him he has like 10 days or 5 days, whatever you say, to remove the items that are blocking the road. If he fails to do so, then I would have the municipal workers, as a form of self-help, go out and clear the road, just like you would if there was 5 piled stuff in a pile of rocks in Chestnut Street. You can go out and remove them. I would have the police present. If he reinstates the impedance to the road in any manner, I would have him arrested at that time under the Crimes Code for blocking a roadway. The last thing, now that's all self-help basically at this point. Won't cost you that much to have a front end loader go in and lift that up, get it out of there and be done with it, and a letter. If all else fails and you want to take the most safe route, we can go in and seek an injunction, which has been done. It will take time and it will be expensive, all right? Everyone always asks, what are the possible negatives? One is a lawsuit for damages. Well, the Municipal Tort Claims Act protects us from that. Number 2 would be a claim for inverse condemnation. If he truly believes that we have taken his property and it is his property, then he could file a claim for such action and ask for monetary damages. In light of the facts that I'm aware of, that would be a total waste of time, but he could do it. The third thing would be a potential, and it's always there for anything that you do as actors of the state, is a civil rights action. Of course, we're not doing anything that's aimed at him. We're only doing something that's aimed at keeping the roadway open and passable. My recommendation, I leave it to you, but my recommendation is to go with the self-help method.
Mr. Solicitor, one question. If he doesn't remove it and we go in and remove it, can we bill him and charge him for our labor and costs?
Theoretically, you could.
And for restoring the road, because I believe he built a trench in the road too.
Theoretically, you could.
I think if we go do that, though, we're going to regrade that road to readjust stormwater.
You're going to have to be careful because there is some water problems in that
Okay.
area.
All right.
So I'm not sure that we would
Yeah, I don't know whether it's worth it
deal with them on
Okay.
that piece.
on a cost-benefit
All right.
ratio.
Is there a motion to allow the solicitor to send a letter to the,
No, I would do it. The borough will do it. We don't need.
to allow Shane to send a letter to the,
I would.
should I say who it is or?
Well, can I make a suggestion on the motion?
Go ahead.
I would just say to authorize the borough manager and solicitor to take all legal remedies necessary to.
Okay, is there a motion to that
Address
effect? Councilman Anders, is there a second? Councilwoman Baumgartner, any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor, for explaining that. We need somebody to make a motion to allow Shane to go find an auctioneer for all the vehicles and property that the borough is getting rid of. Councilman Shupsta, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Questions or discussion? Do we have an estimate on the date that we would like to do that?
Yeah, we want to try to accomplish this by the last day of October.
Okay.
At this point, it would be on the auctioneer as to how soon they could hold one, but.
Any estimate on how many vehicles we actually have?
Vehicles, 8 probably.
Okay.
But it's more than just that. We have literally cleaned out the fire training grounds, and we've cleaned out buildings, and there's equipment, and there's, for the junk collector that is in all of us.
Any antiques?
Mr. Shipsta might be showing up to see if there's.
Thank you. Well, we might have a lift truck.
Any antiques?
The lift truck would be on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the
an antique.
1956 or whatever,
Yeah.
1954 lift truck.
That's on my list. Awesome.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes. You have the committee meeting notes to read through. And our next meeting is September 27th at 9 a.m. here in council chambers. That's a Thursday. Budget and Finance Committee, Chairman Barrett.
All right, we have 4 items that require official action. The first is the bill list, 2018-31, and I'll place that in the form of a motion.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? Councilwoman Baumgartner, any questions on the bill list? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
The next item is the 2019 MMO, or minimum municipal obligation. I'll place a motion to deny that request.
No.
No, the MMO, sorry, I'm sorry. MMO is to approve.
It's
I
for us
apologize,
to
I apologize.
approve.
I have 2 notes here that I wrote down. This one is the approve. The MMO is to approve the MMO. My apologies.
There's a motion to approve the 2019 minimum municipal obligation. Is there a second?
Those acronyms.
Councilman Shupsta, any questions or discussion?
Just, Shane, this will all be also included with our 2019 budget.
Yeah, so this is required by law. You have,
Yeah, we do this every year.
Yeah.
you really don't have a choice. Again, whether or not you should even have to vote on it's a debate, but, so these will be the numbers for pension
Right.
for your 2019 budget.
So it's clear, Shane is accurate. The statute simply says you must be notified by a certain date of what the MMO is. You're notified. Boom.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
That's
guys have
what it
voted
said.
on it every year since the beginning of time, so
We're just following tradition here.
There we go. Good enough.
So if I'm reading this correctly, we are putting in 6,000 shy of $1 million in between the police pension plan and the employee pension plan.
Yeah, and it actually goes down by about $40,000 compared to
You get
this
your
year.
state aid.
Yeah, and there's state aid that goes with that, but our contribution is actually about 40,000 less than 2018.
So it's the first time in a long time that our contribution actually went down. For a few years, it was going up by 100,000 plus a year. So it's nice to see it go, well, level off or go down for once, so. All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
Now I have it correct. So for the COLA, there was a request for the COLA to be updated. We will deny that request. And I'll place that in the form of a motion to deny the COLA.
There's a motion on the floor by Councilman Barrett. Is there a second? See, we don't have Chris here to second you because he always does it because we're on the same committee. Councilman Anders.
I will.
So, just so everyone knows, COLA is the cost of living allowance, and it's for the police pensioners, retirees. So, all right. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say no. So there's 6 ayes for denying the COLA.
And the final item is on your desk. It's labeled Lehigh Valley Engineering. And Budget and Finance is making the recommendation to hire Lehigh Valley Engineering for an estimate for HVAC engineering work, which is based on $1.70 per square foot, which is approximately $85,000 for the 50,000 square foot new Borough Hall, which includes construction, meetings, and complete designs of HVAC. And then the second portion of that is for an electrical load work for the DPW garage at a rate of $130 per hour.
And just for everyone's knowledge, that's Department of Public Works, DPW.
Department of Public Works, yes. Acronym city.
You're doing good with the acronyms
Doing my
tonight.
best.
So there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I will, just to
Councilman Anders, questions or discussion?
Sure, for the HVAC work and the cost of that. I know we've been stout with our budget on that building, and I know we recently sold the property. Will that money be used towards?
Yeah, money was already earmarked for it.
Okay, just making
You
sure.
were paying for the engineering work anyway.
Right.
Our issue was, we kept running into this roadblock with the current firms that we're using, that we can't use natural gas because of the 2-inch
Correct.
line that's going in. And they keep coming back to, you're going to have to use top mount units and have electric HVAC. And we talked to our borough engineer and said, look, like, I need someone else to tell us, there's gotta be another alternative, and there are. These guys are, so he strongly recommended Lehigh Valley Engineering and their HVAC engineer. They came in, assessed the building, and said, you know, it's pretty easy to decide what it's gonna be. You could spend $750,000 to dig geothermal wells if you want to, which, you know, efficiency-wise would be great, but it's $750,000 just to drill a well. You could go with the electric top mount units on the roof. Or why don't you bring in the natural gas, go with a reduced rate from UGI, and have an oil burner with it. So when it gets too cold out, UGI calls you and says you need to switch over. You hit the switch, you're now burning oil. As an award for that, you get a reduced UGI bill. He said, quite honestly, places the size of our building, that's what most of them use, is that boiler system. So it does involve some engineering. It does involve running hot water through the building. It does involve putting an oil tank in. But it gets us to where we wanted to be, and that was, there has to be a more efficient way that's not electric,
Not oil.
and not dependent on oil unless it's a super cold day, and gets to the natural gas point. He said absolutely no way should you try even bothering with solar panels. He said that's not efficient. He said unless you want to put all the solar panels up in the front yard. That's all you're gonna have. He said, but for that big of a building, your payback's gonna be 20 years. Like, it's gonna take you 20 years to get that money back, and there just aren't tax credits to address that, like there are in other states. Like New Jersey's still offering tax credits for the solar panels, so there's still an incentive for that. Geothermal, on top of the $750,000 just to dig the wells, then you're doing the engineering and all of the work to run the system inside. You're looking at like 1.2 million on the average to run geothermal. Again, if there are tax credits, grants, things like that, quite honestly, tax credits don't really do anything for a borough.
Right.
So tax credits don't mean anything to us.
And at what point will they start the engineering?
So they know that my time frame is that we would really like to start installing HVAC in the spring. So they would start engineering as soon as we hire them.
Okay.
But they'll work with our architect. I feel strongly, I felt very good about it. I think our public works director felt very good about it. That was the answer we've been looking for. And they come highly recommended from Hanover Engineering. When one engineering firm actually recommends another engineering firm,
Yeah.
there's a positive there, because you don't usually hear that from engineering firms.
Right, and if, correct me, just so the public knows, we've pretty much gutted that building, so it makes it easier for them to.
Well, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why the building, we've installed for over 6 months on HVAC. We can't run wires, we can't put ceilings in, we can't do anything else until the HVAC is done.
Correct.
So it's been sitting there, waiting for an HVAC engineer to do the work so that we can actually move forward.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. There are 6 ayes.
That was my 4 items. Progress.
Thank you. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee Chairwoman McMiniman.
Nothing for official action. Our next meeting is this Thursday, September 20th, and we'll report progress.
Thank you. You have a couple sets of meeting minutes under 17. Personal appeals part 2. If anyone has a personal appeal, you have 5 minutes. Please sign in.
May I
Hearing-
comment, though, that Alan, I told he could leave because it was a ruse, and he was ready with a report for personal appeals, but I just wanted everyone to know.
So you put in the work to come here?
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I had him, he sent me reports this morning. He was all ready to present to us.
He's probably disappointed he didn't get to give the report.
He said some things to me on his way out the door.
Borough Manager's report.
So I've